Hello everyone, welcome back to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. It's so good to be spending the next 45-50 minutes with you. We're going to have a great time. And a special shout out to Paul Glover from Georgia. I think that was where Atlanta, Georgia. Paul, welcome to the show. You're a first timer. It's good to see you in the chat. It's good to see everyone else in the chat. Mr. Fomiardi, I can see Karen from Singwise. I always feel like we had a show back here way back in the 60s and 70s. I wasn't around for the 60s, but I was around for the 70s, where the lady would come on. It was a kids show, and the lady would come on and she would look through like a handheld mirror, but it was open, and she would look through, and she was talking to the kids on the other side of the screen. And I can see Jimmy and I can see Jenny, and anyway, it always feels a bit like that. But sincerely, it's good to see you all. Linda, the wonderful Linda, for those of you who don't know, Linda is our wonderful moderator here, as is Karen from Singwise. But Linda takes all of your questions, puts them into Word document, and keeps us all safe in the chat, yada yada. Linda's on having a public holiday today. She's even here on her public holiday. That is how committed Linda is to the live show. And I think it's just because we all love hanging out together. We get to do this every Monday. We do it at the same time every Monday, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So Paul, the way to be reminded about that is all you got to do is subscribe to the channel, hit the white bell icon, and that way you won't miss a live show. And you don't want to miss next week, because next week we've got Dr. Matthew Edwards coming onto the show. We haven't had Matthew on the show since before COVID. Anyway, COVID just is its own thing, wasn't it? Like this period of time. Who would have thunk that we would go through a pandemic together? Crazy. Anyway, Matthew is coming onto the show, and we're going to be talking about a really, what I find to be a really interesting topic. And we're going to be talking about finding your voice. So many people talk to me about, but I don't feel like I know my voice, or I always feel like I'm sounding like someone else, or I want to find my voice. So next week, Matthew and I, we're going to be talking to it. We'll probably cover more ground than this, but there's three main areas that we have to think about when we're finding our own voice. Firstly, you've got to think about your identity as a singer. That sounds kind of rudimentary, almost goes without saying, right? You kind of got to know who you are first before you can find your own voice. And then what you've got to do is establish some technique. One of the greatest ways we develop our own voice is through the development of vocal technique. We'll talk more about that next week with Dr. Edwards. And then we're going to talk about artistry, because you can know who you are, you can have great technique, but if there's no kind of artistry to that, if it's just dry chips, then it's a bit redundant, isn't it? You know, we want to develop our ability to emote, our ability to deliver and communicate, and that's all a part of artistry. So we are going to deep dive into that next week. It's going to be a great show. I'm really, really looking forward to having Matthew on the show, and that'll be fantastic. Today we are doing a Q&A. So in a moment, and in fact, you can start asking your questions, just like Ismail has already asked a question. Ismail, I can see your question, and we are going to answer it in a little bit. But I want to try something a little bit different to kick off today's Q&A. Normally, we just dive straight into the Q&A. But I thought it would be interesting to try something. This is something that we'll try today. I'll see what you think, see if it's of any value to you. And then we might even, do it again in the future. I'm hoping that we do, because I think it's kind of going to be interesting. But I'm just going to we're going to talk to a subject. Now let me just get myself all cleared up here because I've got to get myself ready to do this because there's a little bit to it. So the subject we're going to talk to, oh, by the way, if you want to ask your question in the chat because Linda's going to write your questions down. Start asking your questions now because Linda will write your questions down, and then after we've talked to our subject today, which is going to be about hydration, the importance of hydration. We'll talk about that in a moment. But what I want you to do, ask your questions so that when we have finished talking about hydration, learning about the value of it, how to hydrate and all those sorts of things, then we're going to come to your questions. If you absolutely, positively must absolutely have your question answered, then the best way to do that is with a super chat, because then you basically you jump the line and you get bumped up to the top, and your super chats all go towards the helping of the channel, which is fantastic. But for now, let's talk to hydration. So I want to talk to this subject because, and you might be thinking, oh, here we go again, a singing teacher talking about remaining hydrated. I think it's often the simple stuff that we miss. It's often the simple to-do stuff that we not only miss, we just don't do it, yeah? Because it's almost too simple. And hydration, remaining hydrated, I've lost count of how many times I've told singers to remain hydrated. It is so important. And we're going to, let's talk through now just a few brief points as to why is hydration so important. Well, first and foremost, it's because it improves your vocal performance. When the vocal folds are well hydrated, and we'll talk about how they become hydrated in a moment, but when they are well hydrated, your vocal folds can perform better. Consequently, you can sing better. We all want to sing better. And one of the simplest things you can do is maintain consistent, well-developed, what's referred to as systemic hydration. We'll talk a bit more about that in a second as well. This is going to give you, when your voice is more supple, when the vocal folds are well hydrated, it will, the word here, I put the word in increased vocal range. We could probably come up with a better word than that, but we'll go with increased. It certainly gives you better movement across your range because everything is far more malleable. There's better lubrication across the vocal folds. And so it gives you access to your full, complete vocal range more easily. Yeah, it's more efficient across your vocal range. This is a big one. It reduces the risk. It doesn't eliminate. It reduces the risk of vocal injury. Yeah, when there's good lubrication. Think of what happens to an engine. If your engine is running low on oil, yeah, the oil is being used to keep all the working parts. This is your old school, combustion engine. We're not talking electric engines any longer in this analogy, but we're talking your old combustion engine without oil. All of the parts, the moving parts, what happens is without the oil, we develop higher levels of friction, and with higher levels of friction creates more heat, and heat wears and tears at the moving parts. You can think of the vocal apparatus as needing the same type of oil, the lubrication. And if you didn't have the right amount of oil in your engine is likely to lock up and actually, stop working. And to reduce our risk of vocal fold injury, you want to make sure you remain well hydrated. Just going to come back over here because I just want to double check that oh, no, we don't want that. I'll keep going. Linda, I can't see your messages as to make sure that we're all good any longer. I'm hoping we're still all good. It does improve your vocal quality. And the reason for that is because the vocal folds are coming to connection. There's less friction. They're coming together in a far more balanced way. And whenever we're well hydrated, it's not only the vocal folds that are remaining well lubricated, it's the entire vocal apparatus. It's the bronchial stem up into the larynx, up into the vocal tract, up into the nasal cavity, the mouth. And everything is well hydrated, the whole system is going to work so much more fluently. And let's not discount the value of improved overall health. If you've been sick, and I've had a couple of students just in the last couple of weeks who have been, just had, there's a bit of a rhinovirus going around. They've been really unwell. And when you feel sick, or your general health is of a poor standard, then your whole body doesn't feel like singing. And so hydration is a part of a healthy lifestyle. It helps to keep toxins being flushed from your system. It keeps your organs in good working order. All of these, keeps your skin nice and healthy. And so all of these things, this is all benefited by better hydration. These are the reasons why we want to be making sure that we are well hydrated. I know some of this stuff is like you go, well, duh, Dr. Dan, this is pretty standard stuff. It is standard stuff. It's simple. But sometimes we need to be reminded of the simple stuff. And some of that reminder needs to be how to stay hydrated. So drink plenty of water, okay? So here's my water bottle. It's next to me all day, every day when I'm teaching, when I'm gigging. You've got to stay well hydrated. 8 to 10 glasses is your average, the average. Now, if you are exercising, you are going to need more. And that includes gigging. If you're a 4 sets a night, multiple nights a week kind of singer, you're going to probably need just that bit more water. I say 8 to 10 glasses. In the metric system, that's around 2 liters. I always say to singers, try to aim for 2 to 3 liters. Yeah. Now, it is possible to have too much water, too much hydration. You can actually drown your organs in too much hydration. Whenever I talk hydration, someone jumps onto the comments section and says, no one's drinking enough water. It should be 5 to 6 liters. Moderation's the key. You can overdo hydration, but I find for the most part, most of us are under hydrating. So to start with, just start aiming for the 8 to 10 glasses a day. 8 to 10 glasses, around about 200 to 250 mils of water a day. And that's going to be a good place to start. It will mean that you'll probably find yourself going to the toilet a little bit more regularly. It does take time for your body to learn to retain that systemic hydration, that added level of water that you're putting in. And I do always encourage singers to where possible, to drink unadulterated H2O, straight water, neither hot nor cold. You want it room temperature. And that way your body is going to be able to assimilate it with less energy burnt. Remembering that your vocal folds have to be hydrated from, now we're talking about swallowing water here, your vocal folds are hydrated from within the body, not from without. When you swallow water, there's no water that touches your vocal folds. If that were to be the case, you will go into that violent coughing response that we've all experienced because we've all swallowed something down the wrong way. If you swallow food or fluid and it hits your vocal folds, you go into that really rough, aggravated cough. That is no good for your vocal folds. And it will take you a little bit to recover afterwards. And so it takes around about 2 hours. Again, there's some give and take in that, but it takes around about 2 hours for that swallow of water to become a part of your bloodstream and to be distributed through your body. And you want to make sure that you are, this is one of the reasons why you want to make sure that you are systemically well hydrated, that you're constantly getting that 2 to 3 liters of water into your body, sipping it through the day. Try to avoid hitting your body with, you know, if you buy a 600 ml bottle of water, try to avoid just hitting your body with 600 mils, yeah? Or, you know, 700. Don't just gulp it all down. Slow but sure sipping throughout the day is going to ensure that you're maintaining that level of hydration. Limit or avoid caffeine and alcohol. Now, let's talk to alcohol first. Alcohol is a known diuretic, and it will cause your body to actually expel, release hydration. If you've ever had a big night, you'll know the next day you wake up feeling pretty seedy. Part of that feeling seedy is dehydration. And so drinking, replacing that water content when you are drinking alcohol is really important. Caffeine was once thought to be a very strong diuretic. The most recent research, certainly that I've read, suggests that it's not so much a diuretic as to being a really high influencer of reflux. And reflux, that is the regurgitation of digestive enzymes, acids within the stomach, and coming up and agitating, burning, and, dare I say, dehydrating the rear of the vocal folds, the arytenoids, and over into the vocal process, the point at which the arytenoids connect to the vocal folds. That is going to really agitate the voice, and it will have this sense of not dehydrating, but, well, yeah, kind of dehydrating, if you get my gist. Certainly it can create inflammation, and so too will alcohol. They'll both lead to reflux. So you want to make sure that you are measured in your, you know, taking on how much caffeine you drink and how much alcohol you drink as well. You can add to or enhance your hydration by eating water-rich foods. So that's going to be things like lettuce and a lot of citrus fruits, strawberries, cucumbers, watermelon. A lot of these foods are really high water content, and again, you know, it's going to lead to a healthy lifestyle, which is a very positive thing. But it's also helping to reinforce that systemic hydration. Now, I keep referring to systemic hydration, and that's the hydration that we get from foods and fluids, as we've been talking about, that goes into your stomach to be part of your bloodstream. But we have another form of hydration that is referred to as superficial hydration. And we get that essentially from the air, the moisture content of the air that we breathe. And this is as important as your systemic hydration. So if you're in a dry area, you know, a place that has really low humidity, a humidifier is going to be really beneficial. Even here in Brisbane, Australia, and we live in the subtropics, even at the height of winter, the air content, the humidity, can get quite low, and I'll really feel that in my voice because the air is far more dry, has a far higher drying effect on my voice than, you know, when we're at the height of summer. In fact, yesterday here in Brisbane, it was super muggy, and that mugginess is the combination of heat and moisture in the air. So I certainly didn't need a humidifier on yesterday. But if you're in that drier climate, then you certainly want to think about a humidifier. And a good time to have a humidifier on is while you sleep, because you don't have to think about it. You just put it on while you sleep. You're breathing more moist air, and that can be really positive, particularly if you've got either an air conditioner on or a heater while you sleep. A humidifier can be really positive. A steamer is one of these guys. I've got it here. So this is your old school steamer, and what we would do, we fill it with hot water, like really hot water, sort of half boiling, half hot, and we just breathe on it like so. Lasts for about 8 to 10 minutes. Fantastic. The challenge, and what sort of breathing moist air directly, directly, I call it the singer's bong, can you see why? Directly onto the vocal folds. This is so effective, and for decades, using something like this has been a go-to for surgeons, voice surgeons, laryngologists. I was searching for the right term. Laryngologists have been recommending the use of one of these for post-surgery, as have speech pathologists for decades. And they're so effective in helping to rehabilitate and rejuvenate the voice because of the heat and moisture content. And it's just helping to get blood flow going. But it's so effective that you can't, and what I've always encouraged singers to do is don't use a humidifier, a steamer, personal steamer like this one. Don't use it pre-singing. Always use it after vocal use, after vocal load. But in recent years, we've got these guys here. This is a nebulizer. Yeah, same tech as in a vape. Incidentally, don't vape, don't smoke. That will dehydrate the voice, amongst other things. But this guy here, this is 0.9% saline, and it's just blowing cold steam, creating cold steam, and you breathe it. You can do it before, during, after. In fact, I was doing some nebulizing immediately before I came online with you today, and it is fabulous. I've been telling you all, for those of you who watch the show regularly, I have been telling you all for the last 6 months just how good this guy is. This is a revelation, and it's amazing. It's so beneficial to my superficial hydration, and because it's 0.9% saline, how do we say it? Potato. It embeds, it atomizes the water, and because the 0.9% saline, now I'm really questioning as to how I say that. It's salty water, Daniel. Because of that, it's very similar. It emulates the level of sodium content in our own mucosa. It embeds into the vocal folds and keeps them wonderfully supple. I can feel the difference. I can hear the difference. My voice feels efficient. And that's on top of your normal hydration. I am pretty good with my hydration, my systemic hydration, but adding this fellow to the mix, so good, so good. Finally, the way you can monitor your, more to the point, back to systemic hydration, the way you can monitor your hydration is to monitor your urine color. There's a classic saying, if you pee clear, you sing clear. Whereas if you pee yellow, you sing mellow. Mellows, I don't mind singing mellow, but you get my point, right? We want to make sure our urine is as clear as it can be. You don't want it to have a high yellow content. Of course, if you're taking a vitamin B supplement, or there are some other supplements that will turn your wee yellow. But in general, we're talking generally, you want to go looking for that that pee, your urine to be, you know, as clear as you can make it, and that suggests that you are, you know, remaining well hydrated. So there you go. I think this sort of would be good to remind us all of, firstly, why, and secondly, how. Yeah, because hydration is so important, and it's such a simple thing to do, but it's one of those simple things that can kind of fall by the wayside, because there are quite a few simple things that we should do and can do as singers. But that being said, it's, you know, look, if it was easy to remember to do all these things, everyone would be remembering to do all these things. And even I, at times, I'll go, man, I've been really a little bit lazy on my hydration, and I've got to really pick that up. And so there you go. I hope that's helpful to you all. And yeah, let me know if going over that stuff today has proven to be a helpful thing, because it would be, I'm thinking, like I said, I'm thinking of doing some more of these sort of teaching type, webinar-y type deliveries as a part of our Q&A, and hopefully you find that helpful. And I can see a super chat here from Tanmay, which we're going to talk to in, excuse me, in just a second when we come back to do the Q&A. Okay, so let's jump in here, because I want to get to I'm going to come back and find, I've got to find your question, Tanmay. Let me find it first, because here we go. This is the question here. Let me see if I can. Oh, hang on, that's that's not what I'm looking for. I wonder if I can find, I'm stuck. Here we go. Here's the question. This is going to be what we're looking for. So Tanmay is asking the question, I'm stuck since many years. I can't sing high. If I try, it sounds like Mickey Mouse. I know the difference between falsetto and falsetto is smooth. I just want to sing connected high like Axl Rose. There's a lot of people that want to sing high like Axl Rose. We've actually just had Axl tour through Australia, and there are a lot of people that were still pretty impressed with what he was able to do, even at his ripe old age. Okay, so when you sound like Mickey Mouse, Tanmay, it may be that we've got a heightened larynx, and with that heightened larynx, and it's not wrong to have a larynx that comes high for some vocal productions, but if you've got a heightened sort of laryngeal position, it could be that as a result it's staying high and creating a lot of tension. And so a part of the process of building solution around that for you is going to come from actually looking to have your voice release some of that pent-up tension. And that is going to partly come from developing your breath management, so that you're not creating high take of breath. When we breathe high, we're then likely to sit the larynx really tight on top of it, all while the air is pushing up underneath and you've got this tension between the two. When we learn to breathe well, we're able to manage not only the air better, but also our tension. I often refer to breath management as informing your tension management, because when you breathe well, you're going to be less tight. And so that's something for you to give some thought to. And one of the ways you might want to look into Tan may well be to explore SOVTs, semi-occluded vocal tract activities, and I'm thinking in particular lip bubbles for you. Check out my video on the channel where we talk about lip bubbles, and I think you'll find that really helpful. Okay, let's come back to Ismail's question now, because Ismail was the first. Thanks for your super chat, Tanma. I hope the answer was helpful. Okay, what's the question? Falling. Here we go. So we've got Ismail's question here is, hi Dr. Dan, after falling sick, I think it's falling sick. Yeah, I think it is falling sick 5 months ago. My sinuses got blocked with a bad cold, and later I noticed difficulty when speaking in loud places, which also affects my singing. Please help. What can happen? And this is an interesting thing, Ismail, and I'm not a medical doctor, and so I don't want you to take what I'm about to say as a diagnosis, but what can happen is when we do get sick, and this is one of the reasons why I encourage singers to avoid singing when it's not absolutely necessary while you are sick. Because what can happen is when your sinuses got all clogged up and you were generally unwell, and almost certainly your vocal folds possibly had some inflammation because just everything had inflammation because you're unwell, what can happen is if you continue to sing sick while that's going on, you can develop compensatory, what's referred to as maladaptive behaviors. And that is, you kind of know how you want your voice to sound and how it should behave and how it should perform based on when you are well. But when your voice is compromised due to illness, everything is compromised. Everything's not working like it should, but you still want it to behave and perform in the manner that you are accustomed to. So what we do is we develop compensatory behaviors. And those compensations, those maladaptive responses physically, are often going to be bad. They're going to lead to higher air pressure. They're going to lead to trying to form vocal tone that is really struggling to form simply because all of the mucosa is maybe dehydrated and there's some swelling. And so these are some things that can lead to those challenges. And so what I'd encourage you to do, Ismail, is you try to go back to the basics. Try to look back at, well, what is my technique doing now that it wasn't doing pre-sickness? Look at the balance of your body alignment. Look at the balance of your airflow. Look at the balance of the way you're moving across registers. And just like we were talking about with Tanmay just before, the thing that you want to be really mindful of and try is SOVTs. SOVTs are wonderful for re-establishing balance. And in your case, Ismail, I'd probably recommend straw phonation. And so I've got a video where I think the video is titled something like, if your voice is tired and sore, try this. And I go into straw phonation. And I'd like to think you'll find that is helpful. Hey, I just saw a super chat from Kelly. Kelly, thank you very much for your super chat, very much, and I hope you're doing well. Kelly has been one of my private students, and always loved my time with Kelly. So thank you, Kelly, for that. Let's go to a question from Paul, and Paul is our newcomer. polyphonic singing. Let's have a look. I have a question, and I'm just going to check that we're all, I think we're still all good. Linda, just let me know in the chat that we're all still good, just to make sure that everything's still working smoothly. Not in the chat, in the document, Linda, if you could. I have a question about polyphonic overtones. I've heard that that technique is how it is achieved, but I have also heard that notes on the vocal cords can cause polyphonic overtones as well. How to tell? My understanding, Paul, and I have to say that I am not an expert in this field. I certainly don't teach overtone singing. I have a video about it where I direct people to someone else who does. But yes, when we think about overtone singing, throat singing, some people call it, what's actually happening is the vocal fold, the vocal tract, I should say. When you create sound, just very quickly, when we create sound, our vocal folds actually create a very rudimentary buzz. It's ugly. It's not what you would identify as someone's voice. But when that rudimentary buzz is then filtered through the vocal tract, certain frequencies within that harmonic series are enhanced, some of them are reduced, and that is what gives us the unique sound that the singer or the speaker is producing. And so with overtone singing, what we're actually doing is the singer, through the use of the vocal tract, is actually enhancing and highlighting certain overtones to the point where the overtone, because when if I create this note, yeah, you hear that as a single note. But if I create an overtone, like if I go, that's not a great example. When I create if I was to do an overtone, I'm actually highlighting a frequency to the point where it actually not competes, but it becomes highlighted so that you hear it with what's called the fundamental pitch. Just like, yeah, that's the fundamental. And now what I'm doing is highlighting a frequency above that, which is already in the overtone series, the harmonic series, and it's becoming more prominent, and our ear detects that as a second note, but in fact it's a primary note. There's only one note being produced. Interestingly, my understanding is it is possible to produce a second note at the point of the vocal folds, or certainly within the laryngeal vestibule, and I don't know a lot more about that other than it can be a part of distorted vocals, and it can be what causes some of the growl and distortion that we hear, and it's a really interesting area. Again, not an expert in this field. So it's not a case, Paul, that you've got some people who, you know, it's either or. There is both. The way to tell the difference is, I think you'd probably hear a real distinction between the two variations of how that's produced. I think it's likely that one that is produced more within the larynx itself is more likely to be more guttural. I am very happy to be corrected on that, and if someone wants to leave a link in the chat, then and for people to be able to check out, that would be great, in the chat or in the comments, so that Paul can go and check that out. But Paul, can I encourage you to go and look up my video on overtone singing, which is very short, and it directs you to someone who is an expert in the field, and I think you'll find that quite helpful. We are going to go one more question, and I'm going to give it to Kelly because Kelly gave us a super chat. So let me go new singer. Kelly. Here we go. Kelly gets the last question for today. What are your favorite artists, songs to suggest to a new singer with a voice like mine? I'm looking for something new to explore. Kelly, what would we recommend to you? That's a good question. I think what I always appreciated about our lessons today, Kelly, was your exploration of different sounds. And I think I actually said this to you in one of your lessons, that you actually had a bit of a knack for finding good songs for you. I think that's in part because, and I really appreciated this, and I think this is something that we can all take away, is you tended to approach your singing as an opportunity to communicate, as an opportunity to emote, as an opportunity to express, and that was often driven by your sense of, how do we say, your sense of artistry. You know, something we're going to be talking about again next week with Dr. Edwards. And so my encouragement to you, without seeking to give you specific artists, is trust yourself, Kelly. And I'd say that to everyone. Unless you're a professional singer who has a set list being dictated to them, the reality is that we want you to explore songs that you feel you can give yourself to, that you can develop your sense of artistry from. And I'm a great believer in that. Yes, you are going to run into songs that, despite the fact that you love the message, despite the fact that you find it, that it energizes you when you sing, you may find that those same songs are a step too far as technically challenging you. But that's okay. You know, it's, as long as you don't continue to hammer away at the voice and, you know, cause it to do stuff that you shouldn't be doing. First and foremost, find stuff that you love singing. And that, more often than not, is going to mean you're going to be searching for material that is that you love listening to because you love the artist, and that you resonate with, that you really enjoy hearing, and you connect with the message and those sorts of things. So Kelly, I will stop short of giving you a specific artist to explore, other than to really encourage you that you need to trust yourself, girl, because you've got a knack for picking good songs for you. We are going to finish up there, but I did see I can see this super chat from Tanmay. So I just want to quickly just respond to it. Tanmay, you think I should give up trying to sing high because I've done numerous lessons, but I only got, is it possible to reach the same pitch with connected full tone? It's hard for me to answer that, Tanmay, simply because I don't know to what degree, how you're going about trying to move your voice across registers. Can you learn to sing higher in full voice? Yes, there's an anatomical limit for everyone. That anatomical limit is different for everyone. And so how high you can go, I don't know, because I don't actually personally know your voice. And I think that was, and Tanmay's also asked, so I'm going to answer this, Tanmay, because you've been very generous today with your super chats, and then we're going to finish. You've also asked, do you recommend sinus flush, like a neti pot? Yes, that can be very helpful, particularly for people with allergies, but it does come with a very strong caveat. You must, firstly, you don't want to do it too much because you do actually have healthy bacteria and an ecosystem, if you will, in the nasal cavity that we need to be there as a part of healthy living. If you flush too often with a neti pot, you're constantly washing that as well as any bad nasties out, okay? So don't do it too much. Secondly, you must, if you're using a neti pot, you must disinfect the neti pot regularly. It must be clean. Remember, and this goes for the with this guy and this one here. I keep putting it in the wrong way. These things have to be clean and to the best of your ability sterile, because you are ingesting the steam and the water from those. And the same with the neti pot. You want to make sure that you're not encouraging any nasty bacterial growth or fungi growth within the nasal cavity, because that could lead to some problems. So just make sure you don't overdo it, and also make sure you are cleaning the neti pot, really giving it a clean, and that should be of benefit to you. Wow, that was is it just me, or did today feel like a really big live hangout? It was. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Hey, if you've enjoyed, particularly if you've enjoyed the thing that we did at the beginning where we talked about hydration, a bit of a webinar-y thing, give me a thumbs up. Let me know, so that you can, we can think about whether we do that again in the future. I just thought it would be an additional interesting thing to do. And we'll talk, if we do it again, we'll talk about a whole range of different subjects each time. But I just thought it was an interesting thing to do above and beyond what are always very interesting questions. So there you go. I hope you've had a great time. I hope you have a great week. Don't forget, next week we've got a special guest, Matthew Edwards. Our 2 special guests this year already have been amazing, and Matthew is going to continue that along the way. We're going to have a great time. You have a great week. I'll catch you again soon. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.